Asher's new life in the Alaskan wilderness was meant to be a refuge from the chaos of the modern world, a place where he could be alone and find peace. The remote cabin he'd purchased was miles from the nearest neighbor, isolated in the thick of the forest. But on his first night, an elderly couple appeared at his doorstep. They introduced themselves as Tom and Maeve, the only other people living nearby. They gave him a gift, a scrappy, wolf-like puppy with amber eyes that seemed far too aware. The dog immediately stared up at him, its gaze holding an intensity that left Asher uneasy. "Call him Rook," Maeve murmured, her voice soft but strangely firm. "He's more than he seems, and he'll protect you from visitors." Asher frowned. "Visitors?" "You'll understand soon enough," Tom replied, his tone cryptic. "Just trust Rook. He'll know what to do." Their words lingered as they walked back into the darkness. Asher looked down at the puppy who sat patiently at his feet, watching the woods with a focused, almost otherworldly gaze. In the days that followed, Asher found himself settling into his new life, growing attached to Rook's steady presence. Rook was no ordinary dog. He was almost unnaturally perceptive, with an intelligence that defied explanation. He would often stand guard, his gaze fixed on the forest, his body tense as if waiting for something. Sometimes he'd even nudge Asher away from the windows at night, his behavior increasingly protective. One evening, as Asher was chopping firewood, he noticed an odd flicker of light in the trees. At first he thought it was a trick of the setting sun, but the flicker grew brighter, revealing a figure that materialized out of thin air, a being with an elongated, willowy form with translucent skin that shimmered like oil. Its eyes glowed a deep violet, and it seemed to float above the ground. Asher froze, his instincts screaming to run, but he couldn't move. The creature looked at him, a strange, crooked smile spreading across its face, revealing rows of sharp teeth that seemed to shimmer in and out of existence. "You are not supposed to be here," the creature said, its voice like an echo from another dimension, a mix of tones and pitches that made Asher's head spin. But before it could step closer, Rook barreled into view, standing between Asher and the entity. He snarled, his eyes glowing with a light Asher had never seen before, a strange electric blue that pulsed with energy. The creature hissed, shrinking back, its form flickering. "You have no right to interfere, outcast," it spat, its words dripping with contempt. Rook's growl deepened, and with a speed that defied explanation, he lunged at the creature. As he bit down, the creature screamed, its form splintering into fractals of light and color that dissolved into the air. Rook backed away, panting, his gaze focused and fierce. Asher, shaken, watched as Rook turned to him, his eyes still glowing, almost pleading, as if trying to convey something. "Rook, what are you?" Asher whispered, but the dog only stared, his gaze distant and haunted. The next night, Asher lay awake, unable to shake the memory of the creature he'd seen. As he drifted between sleep and wakefulness, he felt an odd vibration, like a hum in the walls. He got up, grabbing a flashlight, and stepped outside. That's when he saw them, figures slipping into his dimension from a tear in the air, their forms ethereal, translucent, and twisted into shapes that defied logic. Each one was different, as if pulled from entirely separate realms. One had too many limbs which moved in an unsettling rhythm. Another had eyes that glowed like molten metal, with a face that seemed to shift constantly. They all turned toward him, their expressions a strange blend of curiosity and hunger. One of them, a creature with skin that shifted between colors like a hologram, tilted its head and spoke in a voice that echoed as if from another world. "We seek the traveler." "The traveler?" Asher stammered. But the creature's gaze fixed on Rook, who had materialized by his side, his body low, his growl deep and menacing. The creature sneered, a strange, distorted smile. "You thought you could escape us, traveler? Foolish. We are bound to find you. You do not belong here, and neither does he." Rook bared his teeth, his eyes glowing that same electric blue. Before Asher could react, Rook charged, his body flickering with energy as he slammed into the creature, the impact releasing a shockwave of light. The creature shrieked, its form disintegrating into a mess of colors that bled into the night. But there were more of them, closing in. They whispered in strange, disjointed voices, voices that overlapped in ways that made Asher's head pound. Rook glanced back at Asher, his expression urging him to run, and Asher stumbled back, feeling his mind fray at the edges. The next day, Maeve appeared at Asher's cabin, her face drawn, her expression serious. "They're here, aren't they?" she asked without preamble. Asher nodded, the weight of the last few nights pressing down on him. "What? What are they?" "And Rook, he isn't just a dog, is he?" Maeve took a deep breath. "Rook is a traveler. He comes from a dimension far from here, a place of wild energies and endless possibility. He escaped his own kind, left behind his duty because he sought something different. They're searching for him, hunting him, and now they're using you to lure him back. Your bait, Asher." Asher's mind reeled. "So these creatures, they're from different dimensions?" "Each one," Maeve replied, her eyes dark with worry. "Each creature belongs to a different reality, drawn here by a mission that transcends human understanding. They're bound to find Rook, bound to bring him back or destroy him." That night, Asher prepared himself, arming the cabin with symbols Maeve had given him, protective runes drawn from ancient knowledge. Rook lay at his feet silent, but his eyes were more intense than ever, filled with a depth of sadness and resolve. As the night deepened, the air grew thick with a strange pulsing energy. The shadows around the cabin twisted, stretching until they formed into creatures, each one more grotesque and otherworldly than the last. They were silent, watching, waiting, their eyes fixed on Rook. The first to attack was a being of pure darkness, with eyes that glowed like embers and limbs that moved with the fluidity of smoke. It lunged, its body dissolving into shadows that wrapped around Rook, trying to engulf him. Rook fought back, his body flashing with light, dispelling the darkness in bursts of energy. With a final surge, he bit into the creature, tearing it apart until it scattered into nothingness. The next was a being of shifting metal and glass, its skin reflecting the forest in jagged fragments. It moved with a mechanical fluidity, its limbs rotating and extending with metallic clicks. It lashed out at Rook with blades that shimmered in and out of existence, but Rook dodged, his body flickering as he phased in and out, matching the creature's rhythm until he found an opening. With a quick, brutal strike, he shattered it, its fragments falling like glittering dust. Each creature was unique, each a horrifying embodiment of a different realm, each more dangerous than the last. Rook fought them one by one, his strength waning but his resolve unbreakable. Finally, only one remained, the leader. It was taller than the others, with a form that shifted between solid and translucent, its body rippling with strange iridescent colors that made Asher's vision blur. Its eyes were like voids, black holes that seemed to pull in all light, and its voice was a cacophony of sounds from other worlds, layered and distorted. "Traveler," it sneered, its voice echoing in Asher's mind. "You will return. This place is not yours to protect," Rook growled, his body low, his eyes burning with defiance. But Asher could see he was exhausted, weakened from the battles. The creature moved forward, its form splitting and twisting, warping the space around it, filling the air with a humming pressure that made Asher's ears ring. Suddenly, Asher had an idea. He remembered the symbols Maeve had shown him, symbols that could trap beings between dimensions. Frantically, he scratched them into the ground, forming a circle around Rook and the creature. The creature paused, sensing the trap, and let out a roar of anger. But Rook lunged at it, driving it back into the circle, his body glowing as he summoned the last of his strength. The creature screamed, its form distorting, twisting as the symbols began to glow, trapping it within the boundaries. The creature's eyes flared with fury, and it glared at Rook with pure hatred. "You cannot run forever, traveler. We will always find you." With a final howl, Rook pressed forward, his body merging with the creature's, his form dissolving into light and shadow as he forced it back, pushing it into a tear in reality that shimmered with strange kaleidoscopic colors. The creature's scream echoed, then faded, leaving only silence. Asher stood there, breathless, the weight of the battle settling in. Rook was gone, but he had saved them, for now.